It's me coming here to you guys, recording and taking care of some of the sports side of True Heel Heat Sports Entertainment. But I'm not alone. No, similar to how the Bears drafted Caleb Williams, drafted Rome Odunze, brought in Keenan Allen, brought in some defensive people to help out this team. I am not alone in this review of Hard Knocks Bears. I am joined by Around the Points Chase Oliver. Chase, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to talk about the Hard Knocks edition of the Chicago Bears.
Now, in an interesting twist, we both have a somewhat connection to the Bears because while I am a Denver fan, as many of you guys know from our football watch alongs, I do live in Chicago. My wife is from Chicago, and she is a definitely fair weather sports fan when it comes to Chicago sports. Unless it's the Cubs, then she just likes the Cubs because she's from here. But she's in the North Side, so she's not a Chicago White Sox fan. But she is something of a Bears fan, and she actually watched Hard Knocks with me, and it got her interested in the season. She already picked out her favorites, mainly Rome Odunze because he's got a cool name, which shows you the extent of her football analysis. But Chase, for those who are not aware, explain your connection to the Chicago Bears.
So my family are immigrants from Indonesia, and when they were getting into American sports, they fell in love with the Chicago Bears. No reason. They moved to Pasadena, California. You would think bunch of football teams out there at the time: LA Rams, LA Raiders. Nope. They fell in love with the Bears, exclusively the 85 Bears, Walter Payton, everything of that nature. So my mom, my uncle, pretty much all my family, except for myself, because I did not want to root for the Bears because they were boring as a kid. I chose the Chargers instead. But they are huge Bears fans, and I tend to support the Chicago Bears as like a secondary team. I tend to care about them a little bit more because my family cares about the Chicago Bears a lot.
We'll uh, we'll call them your NFC team.
Yeah, I
How about,
guess
how
my
about-
NFC. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
you guys have got two AFC West guys here talking about an NFC North team, but such is life, and such was life. That the Bears found themselves this past offseason. They found themselves in a kind of a nebulous area. So we'll do a quick little recap of what was coming before. Is they've realized, I think, very quickly that Justin Fields was not going to be the answer at quarterback, and he joined a list of quarterbacks that they had tried. We could say that the Jay Cutler experience had a lot of highs. It definitely had a lot of lows as well, but they could not get to the promised land with Jay Cutler. And so they decided, all right, we're going to try this Mitch Trubisky kid out. And Mitch did not do well either. Whether he was set up for success, whether he was set up for failure, either way, it didn't happen. And they moved on to Justin Fields. And again, you could say whether he was set up for success or set up for failure, did not get the job done. But thanks to Lovey Smith, thanks to some great trading, they found themselves with the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, as well as their own pick, the ninth overall pick. And with those two picks, as well as a couple, one in the second round, one in the, I think two in the fourth, and a couple in the fifth and the seventh, they said, we are going to attack this draft that is supposed to have superstar level wide receiver talent, superstar level quarterback talent. We are going all in on the 2024 draft, but they had to figure out what they were going to do with that first overall pick. And the consensus really was for Caleb Williams to be that selection. He, former Heisman winner, they did struggle. USC did struggle last year down the stretch. And so his stock had taken a bit of a tumble. But in the end, they picked Caleb Williams first overall, and they said, we got to figure out this wide receiver room. They brought over Chase's favorite
Oh,
hospital visitor, Keenan Allen from the Chargers. And with the ninth overall pick, they took Rome Odunze. So that offense, and then they also signed DeAndre Swift from the Eagles to be their starting running back because Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson just did not seem to be able to connect to make that 1-2 punch. Khalil Herbert also showing a little bit of wear and tear from his years of being arguably one of the best receiving threats that the Bears had.
Mhm.
So with a cast of characters of Keenan Allen, DJ Moore returning, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. They seem set with Caleb Williams coming in to be the guy under center. So before we get into the actual training camp and all that kind of stuff, Chase, what do you think about their off-season moves and how they were coming into this training camp with this cast of characters and now Caleb Williams?
I actually liked it a lot because the Bears traditionally, when they have leverage or they make moves, it's always on defense. They don't really
Right.
tend to attack the offense. Like look at Justin Fields last year. A lot of Fields defenders were saying, "Well, you gave money to Tremaine Edmonds and then that T.J. Edwards, the other linebacker that they signed. They signed those two to a lot of money, and they traded away Roquan Smith to the Ravens. So and then they traded for Montez Sweat and then extended him." So it was just like, man, you're making moves for the defense, but you're not really helping out the offense all that much. And knowing that like Justin Fields was just, hey, we there's no way to fix this guy. Like, like Ryan Poles was like Caleb Williams, like whatever you want to think about him in college, has a special type of talent. And Ryan Poles said, we got to take this guy number one. We would be foolish not to take this guy number one overall. I don't even think they would have gotten a trade package that would have interested them to keep Fields and then get whatever back. Like, I don't think there was any players that would have convinced them that we need this guy on our roster. So they take Caleb Williams, they take Roma Dunze, they trade for Keenan Allen, they signed DeAndre Swift. I like what the Bears did. They extended Cole Kmet. I really like what they did. They said, hey, like our defense, we paid a lot of money for, and we have some of the best players still under solid contracts over there. Now let's focus on the offense and let's be a good overall football team. And Ryan Poles, he comes from the Kansas City Chiefs, so he knows what it's like trading away value for more value and
No, we know
finding
that.
players in the draft. So he he knows what he's doing in that regard and stuff. So I like the moves. I like them a lot because it definitely was shifting a different air in Chicago. It wasn't the same old Bears, rely on the defense, offense. Can you help us out a little bit? It was now focused on we have an offense that can help our really good defense out. Because the
With
Bears defense, when they can turn it on, that's a
oh,
pretty good defense, like a top 10 level defense in the NFL.
with that in mind, and considering, yes, they brought in Keenan Allen, they already had DJ Moore. What do we make of their pick of Roma Dunze? Only because you could make an argument that they could have, and maybe they did, try to move up
Mm-hmm.
to get either Neighbors or MHJ. Now, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. would have cost them way too much. I think Arizona was like, that's the guy we want. And if you try to make us move from this, it's going to cost you. You could make an argument that the Giants, especially after the Hard Knocks training camp, the Hard Knocks offseason episodes with the Giants, that maybe they could have been convinced to move from 6 to 9
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the Bears take Neighbors. Would you have preferred Neighbors or Marvin Harris? I mean, obviously, I think we would be in agreement on Marvin Harrison,
Yeah.
but Neighbors is as has as good as he is. There has always been something of this kind of an unknown factor with him, at least as it pertains to NFL. Like either he is as good as Marvin Harrison, he's better than Marvin Harrison, or he's just below Marvin Harrison. But for some reason, they could not, there was never a consensus on his placement versus Harrison's. So I think maybe it comes down to Neighbors or Dunze. Do you think they should have tried to move up?
I actually think I like the pick for a Dunze for them better because you already got guys like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore who are going to demand the football more than anyone else. Odunze is like a low ego wide receiver. He's not going to be,
Yeah.
he's like Romo Dunze is the new Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, one of the best number 2 wide receivers of all time. That's Romo Dunze. Romo Dunze is going to be a good receiver in the league for many years, probably will be on the Bears for a long time because he is not that type of guy that's like, give me the football, give me the football. He's a game changer. Like if you can get him the football, he's definitely going to change games. But when you add a Keenan Allen, who is that type of guy, like he didn't show it in LA, but he is that type of guy that he wants the ball. DJ Moore, he talked about all the time in Carolina. You got to get me the football. Like one of the main reasons Carolina traded away CMC was because at the time they had DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, two guys that needed the football to make plays in their hands. And they said, oh, well, we got these two. So why do we need CMC? So they said, screw it. Let's get our value back on CMC. We have our two
Well,
playmakers.
they let the Niners fleece them. But
Yeah.
I mean,
For,
yes,
to them, they felt it was valid.
right.
It's the Panthers we're talking about here.
Yeah, I honestly loved the Adunze pick. Really, and what changed my mind about it simply because of the talent that I saw neighbors have. What changed my mind was the Hard Knocks Giants season, because you saw the level of humility that Odunze had, and his just like, whatever you need me to do. Like literally, he was like, literally, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. Whereas you could tell with neighbors, like, I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
And Marvin like gave really nothing, because Marvin Harrison was just like, I'm gonna be the first wide receiver picked. I already know it. Like it's just like, what you don't have your pick number 6. I know the Cardinals are number 4. We'll see what we'll, and you could make an argument that one of the teams above will take me, either the Commanders or the Patriots, even though most people said they were going quarterback, and they did go quarterback. But all right, we have this cast of characters. We're coming into training camp, and immediately, kind of right off the bat, you can see that there is something of a change in the air. There is a certain new swagger to the Bears, to Eberflus walking around the building, getting his hair done, the party at his house and everything. And you can kind of tell that there is this change in the air, and the Bears are trying to put Caleb almost, I would say, almost immediately through the ringer when it came to what they were kind of throwing at him. And in a sense, you do need that, because not only is this a quarterback that's being taken in the first round, but it's a first overall. The amount of pressure on him is incredible, because a team needs you to succeed and hit the ground running. Like, we can talk a lot about the first overall quarterbacks over the years, the Baker Mayfields, the Peyton Mannings. Like, they had a lot of pressure put on them immediately, and they have to be able to see whether you can rise to the occasion or not. One thing that I did like about this Hard Knocks season was that they tried to give, as much as you would expect and want, all of the camera time to be on Caleb Williams. They
Oh
also
yeah.
spent a shitload of time on the Tyson Bagents of the world, the Austin Reeds. Brett Ripien, not so much, but those two guys in particular, Bagent and Reed, they did get a lot of screen time. And so I wanted to ask you your thoughts about overall the presentation of Caleb and the quarterbacks in general, and then also, where do you see a guy like Tyson Bagent? Because he seems as though he has all the tools to succeed at the NFL level, and he has proved it
Mm-hmm.
in the 2023 season. And the idea that, is it almost like, do you view it as a they're keeping Tyson in case of emergency? Or is it, if anything goes wrong with how this guy actually does in the field, we know we at least have Tyson?
Yeah, I think it's keep this guy in a case of emergency. I think a lot of teams would love to have Tyson Bagent on this team. He was perfect for Hard Knocks. Like the guy, his dad's a
Yeah.
professional arm wrestler. He's a quirky guy himself. He's not afraid to. He's one of those guys. He's not afraid to be himself on camera. He's kind of just who he is. Like he's just this fun loving guy. But also, I see the work ethic that he puts in, and it's just like he's definitely a guy teams would probably want on their roster, and that one day could be a starter or spot starter for a team that's like, we're gonna tank this year. Why don't we sign this Bajan kid?
You know,
He's been in the league for a minute. Why not? And then see if he ends up being good, cool. You got him on a cheap contract. If he ends up sucking, we're just gonna pick another guy to replace him anyways.
if you're Antonio Pierce, would you rather have Minshew, AOC, or Tyson Bagent? I can make a
Bajent,
strong argument
Bajent,
for Bagent.
yeah, no Bajent, absolute Bajent. The one thing about Bajent is like he's for being a white quarterback, very fast. Like he's fast for his size. His arm's not that bad. We saw it a couple of times in last season where he was able to push the ball down the field, which most most backups, that's one of their biggest weaknesses. They can't push the ball down the field.
Right.
Bajent has no fear in pushing the ball down the field, and he did it at a good rate last year. So with Bajent, I think it was good for the Bears to keep him, and I think the Bears should keep him as long as he wants to be a backup. But obviously, from this Hard Knocks, like you can tell this guy's mindset and work ethic. It's like, hey, I'm not going to be a backup, or I'm not going to be a backup for long. Like he understands the situation he's in. They drafted a generational #1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams. You can see the quirkiness in the Hard Knocks from this, like a very quirky guy. Like I don't know, like Chicago, the city. I don't know, like he should be thankful he's not going to New York. Like if he was on a New York team, they would not like this guy's attitude. Chicago, I think they just like the fact that if he's good at quarterback, but for the most part, he's very quirky. Like Eberflus, like when he any scene, it was so awkward where Caleb's just sitting there, yeah, yeah, just sitting there as Eberflus is trying to break stuff down. He goes, yeah, and stuff, and so yeah, but he's a very, very quirky individual. The guy like trying to keep his preseason touchdown football, like I was like, that's a little extra, bro. Like it's a preseason, ain't that big of a deal and stuff. But he's a very interesting prospect for sure. Then Austin Reed, he was just a funny guy. Like his parents were really cool. It was probably cool for his parents. I like the parents that travel, and even though they know their kid probably won't make the team, those are good supportive parents sitting in the freaking nosebleeds, and they're just kind of sitting there just watching their son barely play. Like the dad was willing to sit in the rain after the Hall of Fame game. He's like, no, come on, let's keep doing this and stuff. I like his parents, and I also like this sense of humor. He goes, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do if I get cut. I might have to work at the Chili's. And I was like, damn, dude, that sucks. Can you imagine your Chili's coworkers? Yeah, I was on Hard Knocks. I was a quarterback for the Chicago Bears for a preseason. And it's not out of the realm. I've worked with people that have gotten cut from football teams, whether it's the XFL or the NFL. So it's nothing new and stuff. But like that would have just been kind of crazy, like especially because he was on TV at some point. But yeah, Brett Ripien, I think they only showed him when he was getting cut. Yeah. And then they said, and then we was like, yeah, hopefully a team picks me up. And then the Vikings picked him up the next day. So he was surprisingly just very quiet because Ripien is a very funny guy from my understanding. Like he's a very good character. So I'm surprised we didn't focus anything on. Like you would not think Brett Ripien played in the preseason if you watched Hard Knocks,
right?
Because they were just focusing. They were just focusing on Austin. Can he get his final spot on the quarterback room and stuff? And the Bears, obviously, they had their logic of, let's keep Ripien in there. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. Backup quarterbacks are super, a lot of people disagree, but backup quarterbacks are super important. Just because they don't know how to make the plays on the field does not mean they don't have the mind of, what goes on the field, and they can help talk to the starter if the starter makes mistakes. And that's what I like about Bagent. I think Bagent, he has that mind that can help Caleb Williams out and help Caleb understand what he was doing wrong, despite his lack of experience at the National Football League level. He's just a smart guy overall. But yeah, no, Bagent, definitely one of the MVPs of Hard Knocks. Like he was just entertaining, funny. His stuff with his dad is great. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you have a really good point about the importance of the backup, because the backup is able to act as an intermediary of sorts between either the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the starting quarterback, because that person knows the same, is being coached the same way and knows the same playbook, but they can understand and empathize with the starter because they are like, well, we're the ones who actually have to go do it. And the other thing is that they can help translate some of what one side is saying to the other side, and then what that side is saying back. So having a good backup quarterback is really important. So I do understand why they brought in Broncos legend Brett Ripien, but I think part of me thinks that that's also the reason why Minnesota signed him, was less because of the JJ McCarthy injury and more because they want to learn what the Bears were doing during this training camp and more about this offense. Because if, even before McCarthy's injury, if the Vikings were going to try to make the playoffs, they have to contend with the powerhouse that is now Detroit, but they also have to fight off the Bears.
Hmm.
So, I get, and that's still the Packers are there. It's a very competitive division. So it really made sense for the Vikings to pick up Ripien. But I agree with your point in general about the importance of a backup quarterback. And that was also what kind of confused me about the running back situation during Hard Knocks
My.
for a number of reasons. Because one, we know that Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson are kind of the entrenched backups. Okay, cool.
Yes.
But why are they the entrenched backups? Because you just signed this DeAndre Swift guy who we don't see at all.
Nothing. It was like Swift said, "No cameras on me."
I was like, wait a minute. How do we not like if Caleb is new to this team, if Keenan Allen is new to this team, if Rome is new to this team, well, DeAndre Swift is new to this team too. And we learn nothing about this guy. We don't really spend time with Herbert or Roshan Johnson either.
Yeah.
It's all about Velus Jones and Ian Wheeler. And Velus Jones is a guy who RJ, our mutual friend RJ, who you guys have seen on the streams, has cursed his name, cursed his existence for the sheer number of muffed punts. And Velus Jones is very athletic. You get him the
Yes.
ball, you get him in space, guy can take off, he can make a guy miss. There's no issue there. The problem with him as a wide receiver was similar to the punt situation, was actually making the catch. So they said, all
Exactly.
right, cool. If there's a problem with you making the catch, why don't we change it so it's instead of having to figure out where the ball's coming from, it's coming right in front of you because the quarterback's handing it off to you. If you can be a running back and we'll work on your catching in the interim, we can really be able to use you as sort of a Swiss Army knife. I don't want to say a Deebo Samuel's light. I would say a Deebo Samuel's light version.
Hmm.
We can try to do something there. And Ian Wheeler, his story was absolutely incredible. This is a
Oh
guy
yeah.
who has gotten into medical school, like achieved the dream of so many Asian children in the United States and around the world, some of whom I'm related to. And he has the ability to do this. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be a football player.
Yeah, I'm gonna chase my dream in the NFL.
And, and he's coming in as an undrafted free agent, if I remember right.
Yes.
And he is trying to make a team that already has DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, and Roshan Johnson.
Yeah.
Probably the day he gets in there, they're like, oh, by the way, we're trying to switch Velus from wide receiver to running back. So you're going to be competing with him too. That's an uphill battle. And this guy really gets after it. Like he takes after the challenge. He pushes himself to the challenge. You can understand watching this why this is a guy that got into medical school in the first place, because he doesn't shirk away from challenge. And eventually it's kind of heartbreaking, but I think it's the last preseason game, or maybe the second to last, he completely tears his ACL. And it's terrible because, to your point about parents coming to games, even though
Yeah.
they
His
know
mom.
their kid is more than likely not going to make the team, his mom is there. And she's able to get to the locker room area, the medical training area, and just be with him as he's coming out of the medical room. And it's so heartbreaking. And I got to give kudos to the Bears, because while I was watching them, I was watching this show. I was like, this guy actually seems pretty decent at
Yeah.
running. Like I don't think he's like an RB1, but he's kind of like an RB1.5, maybe even like maybe 2.5. He's a guy who can be somebody who's there, one of those break in case of emergencies, or be a good punt return, kick return guy, because we know Velus Jones can't catch the ball. He seemed like a guy that could really do well as a depth piece. And they often say that in the NFL draft, the rounds 4 through 7 is where you really build your team. but that is also where you build your team in undrafted free agency.
Yes.
And so I got to give a lot of credit to the Bears for identifying that with him. One, to bring him in the building, but then two, after he gets injured, to say we do have to release you. It's a medical designation, but we are going to, you clear waivers. We want to sign you to the practice team. We want to put you on an IR so that we have the ability to help you with your rehab and be able to keep you up to speed so that next season you can contribute. So I want to get your thoughts on the lack of DeAndre Swift and what your thoughts were on the Velus Jones trials and tribulations, which, I mean, at least we got to hear cool stories about ferrets
Yeah,
and,
Fair King.
and Ian Wheeler.
Yeah, it was so weird how they didn't even break down that Chicago has three backs, and it was just like they were so focused on Wheeler and Velus Jones, and it was just so awkward. I'm like, can you at least let the viewers know that there's three running backs ahead of them, and that these two are probably fighting for the fourth spot, so that way it's like a little bit more emotional because there's people I know, Team Belis, they like the potential of Velus Jones. Like no matter what, Velus Jones is one of those guys where it's just like if he figures it out, he can be a pretty
Yeah.
damn good football player. Like the athleticism's there, everything you want is there. It's just him figuring it out. And we saw that during the hard knocks that he was able to figure out transitioning to the running back position. And it seemed like a lot of the coaches liked him a lot more than Wheeler. Wheeler, oh, those running back coaches, besides the girl, did not fuck with him. They did not like him. The special teams coach did not like him because like he was all like, well, Bellis is more important on special teams than Wheeler. He said that in that one episode when they were talking about the Jones versus Wheeler debate before Wheeler got injured, that Bayless is important for the special teams. So that's one of the things that's also you got to put into factor. You may like a player, but some of these players that are on the bottom of the depth chart, sometimes they're just good special teamers, and you keep them on the roster because of the ability that they can bring on special teams, not just returning, blocking, everything that goes on to special teams. Wheeler was definitely probably like the fan favorite of like the Hard Knocks, like with the story, the way he battled. It sucked that he got injured, but it goes to show, the Bears, they really want to keep him, and I honestly think he was going to get cut and re-signed on the practice squad anyways. Like they want to keep this guy in the room, so obviously they're keeping Ian Wheeler. And as someone as a Chargers fan, that's where we made most of our bread and money, where we just find undrafted free agents and they end up being pretty damn good at football. Ian Wheeler, he kind of reminded me of Eckler, where it was just like, there was like
Yeah,
signs,
you can see that.
there are signs where I'm if he figures out the whole game, he could ultimately be, like you said, a running back 1.5, and maybe be like Eckler and find his niche. And then a team says, "Oh, you're a running back one now," even though we drafted a really good running back in Melvin Gordon. Screw that guy. He wants too much money. You're cheaper. And he showed that. He showed that with his pop and his speed and stuff. So like undrafted free agents, they are important. And a guy like Wheeler, I want that guy on my football team some way somehow. Like guy's a fighter. Like you want. Those are guys that you want. Those are the depth guys that are going to push the starters when the starters want to lack, not want to like perform at their best at practice. You got a guy like Wheeler running hard every single time, taking down a linebacker in that one scene. Like that right there is a guy that you want on your roster. So I'm glad the Bears kept him. But yeah, Velus Jones, I always felt he was going to get the roster spot. I felt they were editing too much into it. Like it just because the coaches, they were
Yeah,
all in on Bayless. They were like you like when you change someone's position, that means you really like the guy. And then
right.
also too, there are teams, Velus Jones, super athletic, super crazy. There are teams that are really going to call the Bears and say, "Hey, what will it take?" Look at McCole Hardman. He's been able to like get traded. Kenyon Barner, another guy, got traded for like 6th round, 7th round picks because you just think maybe we scratch the surface. Oh, Martavis Bryant, guy wasn't good for years, but somehow, some way, teams would say, "Oh, maybe we can fix them. Maybe there
Right,
is still something in the tank
right.
of Martavis Bryant." So, like a guy like Velus Jones, he's always going to have opportunities in the league. And the Bears knew we cut this guy. A team's going to pay the top team on the waiver wire is going to sign him and take him, and we can't afford that. Wheeler teams are probably just going to be like, "Oh, that fun little running back on Hard Knocks, all right," and then just move on. They're not going to
With
freaking be too
with
worried about that.
with our luck, he would have gotten cut and somehow signed by the Chiefs, and then Kermit the Frog would have done like a little trick play and beaten both the Chargers and Denver somehow at the same time with
Yeah.
with that with that trick play. But if we talk about how the Bears historically have been a ground and pound team, a run first team, they are really trying to switch that up with this year's cast of characters at wide receiver. And they bring in Keenan Allen. They sign him from, we could say the Chargers, or we could just say the Chargers injured reserve list slash hospital. They draft Roma Dunze, and one of the big things during this Hard Knocks season is the contract status of DJ Moore, because well before he needs it, I don't think he was at the point where he needed a contract extension. They decided to give him a 4-year contract extension worth $110 million. Now, that is a large amount of money for anybody. But this year his cap hits 7.2 million. To put this in perspective, next year it will jump to 25 million. And with that deal, they made him the distinction, at least for a few years, of having the largest contract in Bears franchise history.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I gotta say, and it was kind of weird, is similar to Swift, we really did not see Keenan Allen
Nope.
in this Hard Knock season at all.
He said, I've done too many of these. I don't want to do any more. I've done 2 of these. I'm good.
Additionally, we really didn't see Roman Dunze that much either.
I think we saw his mom more than we saw Roman Dunze, to be honest.
They spent a large amount of time with DJ Moore on the field, off the field, going to, I think it was like some ice cream thing, and
Yeah.
a couple things with his kids and things like that. They spent a lot of time with DJ Moore because they knew they're going to put this amount of money in this guy's pockets. He is, I mean, if you want to call Caleb the face of the franchise, right underneath him is DJ Moore. You could even make an argument that it's a 1A, 1B kind of situation, because you don't make a player a wide receiver, the
Yeah.
largest paid player in franchise history after one season. But to cover in general the wide receiver stuff, I think that they also were trying not to show a lot of the wide receivers, mainly because you didn't want to see the scheme, because
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of these teams are watching it. Yeah, they're paying attention for probably some level of entertainment value, but I mean, this is a dog eat dog world in the NFL. They are watching. They probably said, some fucking intern, you watch Hard Knocks and write down everything that happens, break it all down, and give it to the defensive coordinator and see what we can figure out. So in one sense, I do kind of understand why they didn't show Swift, why they didn't show these wide receivers. But what do you think about this DJ Moore contract extension? And how much does it hurt, if any, to see Keenan Allen not wearing Chargers blue?
First, the Keenan Allen thing, it hurts a lot. He was one of my favorite players in Chargers history. I remember the draft. I said Keenan Allen's like my second best receiver. That 2013 draft in which he was drafted, and I was shocked he was not a first rounder. Absolutely freaking shocked. Second round, I was hoping the Chargers with that pick would choose Keenan Allen. I said, "Oh my God, we can get Keenan Allen, DJ Fluker, just be great." We chose Manti Te'o, and I was very upset about that. And so, as the third round was going on, I was on my phone like crazy, saying, "Has anyone chose Keenan Allen yet?" And I could not believe no one chose Keenan Allen. And so then, when it got to our pick, I said, "I swear to God, if this is not Keenan Allen, I am going to be pissed."
Things I've heard you say before.
And then the Chargers, third round, I believe the 69th pick, they chose Keenan Allen. I was screaming and hollering. I'm like, "This is my guy." It took a while. It wasn't until the Thursday night football game against the Oakland Raiders at the time where Keenan Allen had his big come out game. And man, it hurts, man, because Keenan Allen, like, I always said he was the most underrated receiver in the NFL. when people would do top 10 receiver takes and I would not see Keenan Allen, I would get pissed because he's just so important to what our offense was. And I was going into this offseason saying, well, Mike Williams is gone, Joey Bosa most likely gone, but we'll still have Keenan and Mac. And then Bosa and Mac, they took the pay cuts. And then I was just like, what? Bosa took the pay cut? That's weird. Huh. Okay. Guess we're keeping Bosa. What's this mean for Keenan Allen? And then 24 hours later, Mike Williams gets released. Gonna miss you, bud. And then I see Keenan Allen traded to the Chicago Bears for a fifth round pick, not even a third or anything, fifth round pick.
Yeah,
I think it became Tar Heap still or Cam Hart, one of those two corners. Um, I was shocked. I was devastated. I was just one hand happy because I can at least root for him in Chicago, but just not having him, it's so hard because he's been there for such a long time. He was one of the last two remaining San Diego Chargers on the roster. And just knowing that now it's just Bosa. Bosa's the last San Diego Charger on that roster. It really did sting. Like it really was a tough loss for me as a Chargers fan because it was he's just Mr. Third Down. Any third down, I did not care. I was never afraid of third down because we had Keenan Allen. That's how I always felt with third downs and third down and Allen as I called it. But yeah, I was a bummer. I think Keenan Allen, he was just like, don't put the cameras on me. Tired of being on Hard Knocks. Been on this show a couple times. I'm good. I'm done. I just came from the Chargers. That social media team's freaking crazy with all the content they post. I'm good. I don't want to do any of this right now. Roma Dunze, like besides like running routes and stuff, we didn't see much of him, but he seems like a pretty chill dude. Like we've seen him twice on Hard Knocks already. Chill dude, just plays football, does it the right way. Cool. But yeah, DJ Moore was definitely the star and being the highest paid Bears receiver, a Bears player in history until Caleb Williams, if he does get his extension, which Bears fans hope. I thought it was a good move because DJ Moore brought something that the Bears offense hasn't had in a while, a vertical threat, a
Oh yeah.
playmaker that can hit all three levels, short, medium, and deep. Like DJ Moore, it's not crazy to say that DJ Moore could possibly go down as the best wide receiver in Bears history. It's not like there's a long list of Bears wide receivers. I mean, you can argue Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, but this was something that, like, if they're saying to the fans that we're no longer the same old Chicago Bears you think we are, we gave one of our offensive players, not Montez Sweat, not TJ Edwards, not some defensive player. We gave our offensive wide receiver who let's be real, that's who they really wanted from Carolina. They could Carolina just added the extra first round pick. They were trading with Carolina because they wanted DJ Moore. And
Yeah.
DJ Moore over delivered of what they expected him to be and being a wide receiver one in the NFL. So yeah, that showed it. And DJ Moore as a personality on Hard Knocks, he was kind of bland. Like he seems like a great dad. Like that's
Yeah.
the one thing I'll say about him. He's a great dad, but other than that, he like personality wise, he was just kind of like, yeah, it's just great playing football. It's just doing that. Like definitely not like that wide receiver one type A, like huge personality, just a chill dude and stuff. But it's nice to see the Bears changing their philosophy a bit, not so focused on the defensive side of ball. Because let's just face it, besides Jalen Johnson, who else did we see on defense? Like I can't even name you another defense. Jalen Johnson and Booker were the only two people. Like Montez Sweat, like you would not even think he was on the team at all,
Right.
because he was barely shown. Like maybe that one practice where he was talking crap. He's like, "Yeah, man, don't try to run at me." But other than that, I don't even remember a highlight from anyone at Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards. Nothing. Didn't see anything of those guys. We saw more of Jonathan Owens, their backup safety and all around great special teamer, because his wife Simone Biles was in the Olympics, than we did anyone else on the defense, and one backup defensive player. That's it. But other than that, nothing.
Yeah. So if you're gonna have a new quarterback, you're gonna have two new wide receivers. You got to have an offensive line to protect them, and we really didn't get that much from the offensive line either in this Hard Knocks. The only person that really got any time was the undrafted free agents, the Canadian Eagle, Theo Benedict, and that was because of a outstanding outstanding karaoke rookie introduction or new to the team introduction. Unfortunately for him, he is on the practice squad on injured reserve because during, I think it was the first game,
Yeah, the Hall
he
of Fame
gets
game.
injured, and it really sucks for him. But again, shout out to the Bears for keeping him on the team. That's two people that you're keeping and are injured. That's going to hurt you in the season. But if you think about it from a 2 to 3 year proposition, it's actually very smart. But
Yeah.
let's turn to that since you brought it up. We can make this transition. Let's talk about this defense. The Bears defense. The intro of Hard Knocks started, monsters of the Midway, and we know the history of the Bears defenses, the '85 Bears. We know the history of how good they have been and have kept the offense in. They were able to help Mitch Trubisky look like a really good quarterback because they were able to give him short fields and they kept Justin Fields in some games, but building a defense is tough. Maintaining a defense is even tougher. And the Bears have kind of over the last year or so rebuilt, reloaded this offense. They did the old Henry Cavill arm reload from Mission Impossible to try to keep the offense in line. And I think that Ryan Poles was targeting the 2024 draft for offense intentionally.
Hmm.
And his goal was from, say, end of 2022 onwards, we are going to build up this defense so that we can plug in a rookie quarterback on a cheap contract who is really good. We're going to trust our scouting and we're going to build around the offense during the 2024 offseason, and we're going to be as locked and loaded as we can be. So they've brought in the Montez Sweats of the world, as we alluded to, and they've brought in some interesting people as rookies, the Austin Bookers of the world. They've signed Jonathan Owens, and Owens, I think Owens I think he got the most screen time out of any defensive player.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me. They show Jalen Johnson and they show him locking down Keenan Allen, stopping Keenan Allen from getting passes, which, third and Allen, that's admittedly tough to do. My only knock historically against Keenan Allen has been that I think a football player's best ability is availability,
Yeah.
and
And he's,
Keenan Allen had some difficulties with that.
oh, yeah,
But here
100%.
we see Jalen Johnson really being able to test himself in practice against a bona fide, when he's on the field, wide receiver one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yes, you can do that with DJ Moore. You have that ability, but DJ Moore, for how good he is and how experienced he is, Keenan Allen has a much higher level of overall NFL experience. He's just seen so much for so long. So being able to test yourself against that person week in, week out, it's very important for someone like Jalen Johnson, who, while already great, still has development to go through. He's still a very young player. So Jalen Johnson getting that one-on-one time with Keenan Allen. And then one thing I did like was at the very end of Hard Knocks, them showing him lining up against Rome Odunze, and
Yeah.
being able to be like Rome, to be like, hey, it served two purposes. One was to put over Jalen Johnson for how good he is, and now he's able to teach wide receivers. But two, to show Rome's development. That was a subtle way of showing Rome's development for Jalen to be like, okay, this is what I want you to do. Cut here, do a double move here so that I can practice against you. And one, Rome understands what he's being asked to do. And two, he's able to do it. So I think that was also a nice subtle way of killing two birds, one stone. You're putting over Jalen Johnson, but you're also putting over Rome Odunze. But again, Jonathan Owens gets by far the most TV time. Austin Booker is up there because they're showing how good he is and the level of production that they can get out of an undrafted free agent, like I think it was undrafted free agent, like
No,
Austin.
they traded up for him. They used
Oh, they
the
traded up
rest of
for him.
their
That
pick.
was
Yeah,
it.
because the polls, he was like, you think we could get Booker? Think we could get Booker as he
That
chews his
was yeah.
gum?
You're right. You're
And
right.
then they said this will be our last draft pick, and they traded up for Booker because they couldn't believe he. I couldn't believe he fell. I had a third round grade on Booker. I just felt that the potential was there of being like a really really good pass rusher. He has to develop other things like run stopping, but I always felt, oh man, this guy like. Yeah, just tell him to go rush the quarterback, and he's going to do that. Like he's going to definitely be doing that. Like probably later in the season, I would not be surprised if Austin Booker is a name that you hear a lot, and it's like, and Booker again gets to the quarterback because the Bears are going to find like because and he has good people, and the only other thing we saw from the defense too was that the Bears were trying to trade for Judon, but then like
Yeah.
Judon was like, nah, I ain't going to sign a full time contract here, and then Poles was like, we're not going to give a value, you're not going to sign a contract and stuff, and I was just like, man, Sweat and Judon across from each other
Oh yeah.
would have been a nice duo, to be honest. That would have been a nice experienced duo. Sweat for as great as he is, he's not really a sack getter. He's more of a run stopping pass rusher, which is a weird thing to say, but I know all those years at Washington, he was surrounded by a bunch of other stud defensive linemen, so it's kind of hard to like see what he really is at. But yeah, no, it was weird. The defense just wasn't focused on at all. Jalen Johnson, I felt there could have been a lot more footage with him trying to prove that like the players got it wrong, not putting him in the top 100 of NFL players. I get it. The Olympics happens once every 4 years, but like we were way too focused on Jonathan Owens. Like, this is a thing. This is where people that barely watch football, because Hard Knocks is made for the people who don't really watch football. Yeah, it's like, can you get into football? It's a casual, friendly
Yeah.
show for football players. Us guys who are big into it. We just watch it because we want to just see what these NFL players are like off the field and everything of that
Right.
nature.
Right.
But you're trying to tell the story here, and they knew what they were doing. They were just like, this guy's married to Simone Biles. Let's go ahead, showcase Simone Biles, showcase this guy. And we got so much attention on it, like, because remember in the preseason game, she was wearing her
Right.
Packers jacket. It was just like, come on, read the root. Like, I don't care if you like the jacket, Simone Biles. You can't be doing that. Like that's something that's a big no-no. I get it. Your husband was there. He was a starter at one point for the Packers. I remember Jonathan Owens really, really well because that one game, it was Chargers Texans. The Texans had 26 people on the COVID reserve list. And I remember texting my friend, we are so losing this game. This is the most Chargers loss of all time. And my friend agreed with me, saying he hates how we are thinking this is a loss. So we weren't surprised, but Jonathan Owens did have one of the bigger plays. I can't remember if he did the pick six on Herbert or if it was a forced fumble and then he picked it up and he ran it all the way back. Because I just remember that got play on stuff. I think he had that picture too, which pissed me off in his house. So I was pretty pissed looking at that picture. But yeah, no, a lot of focus on Jonathan Owens, but yeah, not a lot of focus on this Bears defense, and that's surprising because Eberfluss's background is defense. He's not an
We
offensive
saw
coach.
we saw more of their dogs than we saw of like DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, exactly.
But one guy that got a lot of time, and arguably was one of the highlights, at least for me, of Hard Knocks is Adrian Colbert,
Yes.
the safety, if I remember right. Yeah, safety drafted in 2017. He's bounced around the league. He was with San Fran for 2 years, then the Seahawks and Dolphins in 2019. He's in the Chiefs and Giants in 2020. He's on 3 different teams in 2021, the Titans in 2022, and the Bears 2022 and 2023, trying to make the team. And I thought that they did a really cool job of, at the end, the juxtaposition of Colbert and Wheeler, both of them trying to make the team on cut day and showing how they went about talking to them. And Colbert was definitely a standout because of his just like Zen approach.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to put it. The guy who's barefoot and on the field, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "You guys just touch grass from time to time." And it's like, well, I mean, he's not wrong, but I mean, I get it. I get it. But a Zen approach is something that I think the Bears and Bears fans need to have, because this is a team that is very young. They have some experienced people. For sure, senior citizen Keenan Allen has raised the average age of the Bears
Oh yeah.
up at least a couple months. But this is a very young team that they have to approach. I don't want to say with kids' gloves, but you got to give them room for growing pains.
Oh yeah.
And in that, we are going to turn to what happened week 1 against the Tennessee Titans, because everybody was paying attention to the Bears and Titans games, the Commanders game, and to a certain extent, the Denver Seahawks game, because those were the 3 games that were featuring rookie quarterbacks. And we wanted to see how they were going to play, because this was a draft where there were 6 rookie quarterbacks taken not just in the first round, but in the first half of the first round. You
Yeah.
had number 1, Caleb, number 2, Jaden Daniels, number 3, Drake May, number 8, Penix, number 10, I think it was, JJ McCarthy,
Yep.
and then number 12, Bo Nix. Now we know Drake May not being the starter. Brissett's going to be the starter. We know JJM tore the meniscus. He's not going to be playing. So that left, and we know Penix is going to be the backup to Kirk
Kirk
Cousins.
Cousins.
So
Yeah.
that left us with 3. And I don't know how it happened, but Bo Nix somehow had more passing yards and rushing yards than Caleb Williams, which seems insane to me, that Caleb Williams did not cross 93 yards passing. If you combine all scrimmage yards, he crossed 100 yards, but 0 touchdowns. And the Bears' offense seemed out of sync. It seemed as though they just could not get on the same page. Rome Odunze apparently has messed up his knee a little bit. I think he went for an MRI. His status is questionable for week 2. DJ Moore and Caleb Williams could not get on the same page. Cole Kmet, the tight end, and Caleb Williams, they had issues there. DeAndre Swift running the ball. We didn't see him in Hard Knocks, so we didn't see that much of him on the field against the Titans. So this Bears offense that, we had all this focus on for Hard Knocks did not show up. And it wasn't even a question of, win the game. I don't think it was even a question of will they be the ones that win the game. It was the idea of will they be competitive, because you have to see them at least be competitive. And I did just say, Zen approach, understand their young players, but it's the idea of you got to show enough to be competitive, and then we can build from there. And lo and behold, it's the Bears defense
Yeah.
that saves the day. Mr. Simone Biles, of all people, forces a fumble
Block punt.
and recovers the fumble for a touchdown. Tyreek Stevenson, pick 6 on Will Levis. There's a blocked punt. There's so much contribution. Of course, Velus Jones muffs a punt the same way people thought he would. I'm sure the running back coaches at that point were like, "Well, fuck, I wish we did have Ian Wheeler." But this was definitely an interesting game for what people thought it was going to be. So, what were your thoughts on the game? What were your thoughts on the Bears offense? And kind of what are the next steps for the Bears as a team?
Yeah, that Bears game, especially offensively, was very disappointing, especially for a guy like Caleb Williams being such highly touted as like this great passer. Did not look like it at all in his debut. I felt some of the play calling just didn't do any favors for any of the receivers. I don't understand the idea of rotating the running backs. Like, has DeAndre Swift not shown you enough tape that he's one of those guys that you have to keep him hot? Like, Like I don't know how many times like people do this with Swift, and this is why he didn't work out in Detroit. Swift is a guy, he wants to be the primary ball carrier. He's okay rotating in and out, but when you get Swift the ball 15, 20 times, that's when you're going to see the best results of DeAndre Swift, and the Eagles realized that. And then you notice when the Eagles went away from giving the ball to Swift that many times and they decided to start rotating the running backs in, Swift got cold.
Yeah.
Bears were kind of doing the same thing, and it made no sense. And then one of the things that I had concerns with bringing in a guy like Keenan Allen and a guy like DJ Moore together was this. Roma Dunze is one of those guys. He doesn't need catches to get hot. He's just always ready. But Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, very similar type players, they need the ball to stay hot. And when you are trying, and not saying they're similar, but in the positions where you could get them the ball to keep them hot, they'd be lined up in the same positions, like in this, and probably running the same type of routes. That's a lot of mouths to feed over there in Chicago, and maybe it was just one of those things they couldn't figure out which receiver they wanted to get the football to. They were overthinking of, hey, who do we give the ball to? We should give it to Keenan here. We'll give it to DJ Moore here. Da da da. It just looked like a cluster, that offense. Defensively, the Bears looked like what we're used to seeing with the Bears. Like, the Titans, really, to be honest, the Bears didn't beat them. The Titans beat themselves in the end. Like, they just made a lot of crucial mistakes in the other two phases of football that allowed the Bears to sneak out what was a comeback win. That was pretty
Yeah.
much it. It was all because the Titans just kept shooting themselves in the foot. But yeah, offensively, they really need to figure out. I think Keenan Allen didn't practice today too, so he's already on schedule of his of his hospital
I'm
visits.
sorry, man, because I realize I am taking a lot of Keenan Allen shots because second nature for me. But like, dude, how are you already on questionable?
Yeah, he's already questionable. But yeah, I think with the Bears offense is, if you want Caleb to be the passer that he is, you got to just make it simple for him. You can't overwhelm him with all these languages, and you just got to let him play free. That's the thing with Caleb Williams, is that at USC and Oklahoma, to when he was there, the best you saw from him was when you just let this guy play free. And I think that's where the Bears OC is not that type of guy. He's not like a Cliff Kingsbury that Washington has, where Cliff Kingsbury does not give a fuck. He is just like, go play, go be you. That's how Kingsbury's been since he was coaching Johnny Manziel. He didn't
Yeah.
care that Johnny. He said it in the Johnny Manziel documentary. I didn't care if Johnny showed up drunk or anything. As long as he was able to play football, let's play football. It's like, this guy don't care. He just wants you to be the best. That's why Kingsbury will always be a good OC, not a good head coach. He's too loose in that nature. But as an offensive coordinator, especially for a young quarterback, I would always hire Kingsbury as my guy, because I'd be like, Kingsbury, just tell this kid, teach him coverage, tell him just have fun out there. Like, don't overcomplicate with your language yet. Like, just make it easy. And I think it's just like, Caleb Williams is a smart guy, like for sure a smart guy, but you're overcomplicating things for him. You're making it harder than it needs to be, and you're putting a lot of pressure for him to score touchdowns right off the rip, instead of being a quarterback at this level. Like not every rookie is going to come in like Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Herbert his rookie year. Not everyone's going to CJ Stroud. Not everyone's going to come in that situation and be like that. And then especially, it's not like Eberflus, like I'm just being honest, Eberflus I don't think is a good head coach. I mean, great beard, gets good haircuts, has a great looking family, seems like a cool dad. But other than that, I don't think Eberflus is the guy that, like, he showed me that with how he handled Justin Fields. I just don't think he's that type of guy for a Caleb Williams. And then you bring in a new OC, Luke Getzky's gone. I forgot who the new OC is for the Bears, but you bring in a new OC,
Shane Waldron.
Shane Waldron. Okay, good passing coordinator. He has done well in the league for a minute now. So yeah, and his offense is complicated. It's not like CJ Stroud, who was coming into Texans with a guy like DeMeco Ryans, who is just like, I'm not touching the offense. You guys figure that out.
Right.
Pep Hamilton there. Pep Hamilton, like, if you look at Pep Hamilton's resume, you're just like, holy crud. He coached all these quarterbacks. And if you look at those quarterbacks in their best season, oh, it was under Pep Hamilton. This guy's pretty darn good. Herbert's best season was under Pep Hamilton, his rookie season. Or yeah, I guess you could say Herbert's rookie season is the best season. Maybe a second season too. He did throw for 5,000, just didn't have the touchdowns. But that's the thing. It's like situations matter, and when you're throwing in Caleb Williams with a head coach who I think is not really built for a guy like Caleb Williams, and then also bringing in an offensive coordinator that is going to throw all this new lingo, say all these things, and you add another wide receiver who is only dominant when he gets the football in his hands, it's going to cause a lot of issues. Like, yeah, sure, throw them on Madden, you're going to dominate. Madden is Madden. This is real life, and the fact of the matter is, you got to make it easier for Caleb Williams if you want to see him succeed in the NFL. It's not like you have the it's not like, oh man, the Bears already have their OC, they already had their quarterback coach. It's just Field stunk, and they just said no. It's not like the Texans situation where it was like, yeah, Case Keenum, we know what his ceiling is. It's a good backup in the league. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, whichever one lands to us. Thankfully, they got Stroud and not Young for them. they knew they had the infrastructure of, we will make this guy good, and this guy we have the infrastructure and we have the coaches to make this guy good. And it's just like with Caleb Williams, I don't think he has that infrastructure to support him. I think he's going to have a good rookie season. I think he's going to bounce back. But this is why I was like, I wouldn't put him as offensive rookie of the year. That's crazy. I'll take one of the three wide receivers, or I'd take Jaden Daniels, because I think Daniels is just going to be running around like a maniac, and Kingsbury's just going to be like, I don't care, man, if you're running around like that. As long as he shows up for next Sunday, I'm good. Like that's how Kingsbury is. So,
Come
yeah,
on,
no.
man. We both know offensive rookie of the year is going to be Bo Nix. Come on, what are you talking
Uh,
about?
Now after the receiver, the what was it, the commentator? Oh no! They don't know what he threw like you just knew that was an interception.
Luckily, I was not watching for that part. But but yeah, man, it's really interesting because I think that it, DJ Moore is so versatile,
Hmm.
but is a great field stretcher. And he's got the speed for it and he's got the youth for it. What I think they should be doing is having DJ Moore be that field stretcher guy. Have Rome take those short routes and
Yeah,
have Keenan take the short to medium routes. And I think that if they can pull that off instead of trying to get both Keenan and DJ Moore to go deep. I think what they're trying to do right now is have both of them take deep routes and have Cole Kmet and Odunze be a short to intermediary role. If they bring Keenan back inside a bit more and they have DJ Moore be just the sole field stretcher, it works out a lot better because you're not instead of relying on the two experienced wide receivers to clear out the secondary and then relying on the rookie to make a catch.
yeah,
You're now relying on one of the most reliable hands in the league to make the catch in Keenan Allen. And yeah, you're gonna get DJ Moore his passes because when the defense comes up to stop Keenan Allen, that's when you get your deep shot to DJ Moore. We'll
yeah. I
see. We'll have to see
think
how this plays out.
Yeah, I think they try to get too cute with DJ Moore at times. I know this guy is a dynamo with the football in his hands. We don't need to run reverses with him. We don't need to do any of that. Just like use him as that field stretcher. Use him as someone that runs a drag route and beats out everyone. Just do that. Like, we don't need to get too cute with DJ Moore. Just have it where he can just stretch the field down deep. And because like he's one of those guys. He may not have the wheels like Tyreek Hill, but when DJ Moore is running down that field, it can be scary. We've seen a lot of great DJ Moore deep catches. The one against the Panthers where PJ Walker chucked that up to him and then he caught it. And then afterwards he took off his helmet and that cost the Panthers the game and stuff. So, yeah, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I just think the offense is just not being run well. And then also, too, like the Bears offensive line, it's an issue. It's like, you guys got to understand, they drafted Tevin Jenkins hoping, oh, this guy's going to be our franchise left tackle. He ended up sucking, so they said, we'll put him at right tackle. Then they realized he's not a tackle. They moved him to guard. And then it turns out he likes playing on the left side, so they put him at left guard. So it's just like you have this guy
Musical
switching
chairs.
between all around the offensive line. This guy's just not good. He's no Cody Whitehair, who the Bears had many years ago, where Whitehair
Yeah,
was like that versatile.
remember
He can play center, he can play guards. It don't matter. He's just a good football player. Jenkins is just bad, and they didn't do anything to really address that offensive line. I think they signed that one tackle. I don't think he's any good though. But yeah, and that doesn't help the rookie either, where he's in the pocket for so long and he's seeing too much happening on the field. And then later on, he has to worry about the pass rush. He has to worry about like the safeties. He has to worry about like when when you give a rookie too much time to read, and especially a guy like Caleb Williams, who, the one thing about Caleb Williams, the problem with being a smart person, sometimes you think you're too smart for your own good. Caleb Williams, he's one of those kids that like he's gonna think he can make every freaking throw. There's gonna be a lot of throws where you're just like, why did he throw that? And then
Take
Caleb will be
take
like,
what the
yeah,
defense gives you. Take what the
yeah,
defense gives you.
yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. When you have Caleb Williams back there and he's processing too much, he's overthinking and then he over worries. And I know he said in the Hard Knocks episode, I don't get nervous. Start getting nervous, man. You gotta get some type of edge on you, because you not getting nervous might cost you some football games down the line. But no, I think he has all the talent. It's just more, can you just help him get the ball out quicker? Can you help him figure out what the defense is doing? Can you find plays that he likes running, and just get Swift involved? Just let the like look, I get it. Swift will be frustrating at times. He'll run 3 times. You'll have that stat line where it's 7 rushes, 10 yards. And you go, oh my God, this guy sucks. And then all of a sudden you hand it to him on carry 8, 9, and 10, and he breaks one. And then all of a sudden it looks like oh man, did you see DeAndre Swift? He had 15 carries for 92 yards. Yeah, the first 7 were pretty bad, but then the rest he looked good. So you got to just trust in Swift. You can't be doing this Khalil Herbert, put Billis Jones in. Like don't make it complicated. Make the offense simple, and that's why I just think Eberflus, he's just not the best coach for that. I would feel more comfortable with like Shane Steichen, who's the Colts head
Yeah.
coach, was Caleb Williams as head coach, because Shane Steichen, another guy that I know very well from his time with the Chargers. Rivers' best season was with Shane Steichen, and Steichen knows how to get quarterbacks settled. He knows how to talk from veterans to rookies. I mean, he has Anthony Richardson playing with the biggest confidence of all time. Like, nah, man, just rip that. Just go out there and throw it and stuff like that. Like just like and also with Steichen, we saw how he developed Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts,
Yeah.
people were saying, "Oh, is he going to be any good in the NFL?" He struggled to throw the ball in college, and Hurts is now a much improved passer than he was ever in college. And so that's why it's like I would feel more comfortable. It's just Eberflus. I just think Eberflus is not a good coach for a young quarterback. And it's starting to. And I know a lot of people put a lot of blame on him for why Justin Fields didn't succeed. I think it was a combination of both. I think Fields just isn't really good, and I just think Eberflus isn't really good. And those were just two negatives attracting each other and stuff. And now you have a positive in Caleb Williams and this negative Eberflus, who, why are you going to Nick Saban? Like, oh, let me ask Nick Saban what to do with my quarterback. Like,
that was actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot about it. The way that they portrayed that made it come across as though that was the first time Eberflus was talking to Nick Saban about how to coach up a quarterback. And it was like he had a notepad, he was taking notes and shit. I'm like, didn't you just have Justin Fields for like 3 years? You didn't call this guy before? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing? But yeah, that was just a hilarious to me. I'm like, I appreciated the scene for the knowledge that Saban was bringing, but at the same time, I was like, why is this happening now in Eberflus's career as a head coach? It made no sense to me whatsoever. But to your point about getting Caleb comfortable to using Swift correctly, like I pulled up the box score from that Titans game, and Swift has 10 rushes. DJ Moore has 1, Velus Jones has 2, Travis Homer has 2, Khalil Herbert has 2, DeAndre Swift has 10. Like, there's a reason why he's only averaging 3 yards per carry, because he's a workload kind of guy. And the other thing is, I'm looking at this the advanced receiving, and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, their ADOT is exactly the same. So what I was saying about one of them needs to be the field stretcher, one of them needs to be the more intermediate guy. There's like Keenan Allen, if you throw him 11 times, he should have more than 4 catches.
Yeah.
It's gonna be it's gonna be something where they just got to get more in sync, more in rhythm. It's gonna be something that develops over the course of the season. But I think like to tie all of this into a bow, we didn't see it happening during Hard Knocks. And my question is, did we not see it because they didn't want to show us, or we didn't see it because it wasn't really happening? That's, I think, going to be the, when we won't really know the answer to that question, at least for a couple weeks, but possibly not till the end of the season. Because if these guys don't get in sync, if you can't get in sync with Keenan Allen, this offense is going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to, because as much credit as DJ Moore has, as much credit as we want to give to DJ Moore, you brought in Keenan Allen for a reason. You're going to be
Yes.
throwing him the ball, which is going to take away targets from DJ Moore. But if these guys don't get in sync, something's going to have to give.
Oh yeah, no, and Ebra Plus, you may not be able to go check on your beehive anymore by the end of the season. I don't think that's going to be a thing if if you don't win. Like, because look, they the reason why you get a guy like Caleb Williams and you did all the things you did on offense, and like you said, you got a guy like Keenan Allen. You are looking at the NFC and you're saying we can be one of the wild card teams. That's what you're looking
Right.
at here. You're looking at it as, hey, we're just as good as the Packers. Like, so what? They just paid Jordan Love all this money. We got a better player than Jordan Love. We believe they truly believe this. This is what they're doing. Like Ryan Poles, why did they bring him from Kansas City? Because they truly believe Ryan Poles, with that Chiefs system and how quickly the Chiefs turn around with Patrick Mahomes, he could do the same thing with the Chicago Bears. And he has gotten the pieces that you need. Like the Bears on paper are just like a really good sneaky wild card team. And it's one of those teams like, ooh, if you just get them in the playoffs, and then what if they somehow win the division, or what if they somehow get a home game out of this? You're like, ooh, you gotta play them in Chicago. It's very interesting. And they're one of those teams too. They're not going to be affected by any weather situation. They play in the
Right.
harshest environments in Chicago throughout all the season. And they're one of the few NFL teams, despite all the money they put into their practice facility, they still practice outside. They're not practicing
Yeah.
inside. We saw that on Hard Knocks, like when it was raining, they were just practicing in the rain, and that's an advantage for a lot of teams that a lot of people don't think about. Like they're going to be used to these harsh weather conditions, so they don't care if they have to go to Green Bay for a wild card game. They don't care if they have to go to any of these places because it plays to their advantage. And so when you get a guy like Keenan Allen, you are saying to yourself as a team, he's a missing piece. Like this is something that the Rams were doing when they were just going all in. They would get these players, and you'd be like, "Why did they get that player?" Oh, because they think if we get this player on the roster, he's going to change what we can do overall. And when you got a guy like Keenan Allen, you're saying to yourself, "Hey, we're not going to be like, yeah, we got this fun young quarterback. We have this field stretching wide receiver in DJ Moore. We have a guy in Roman Dunze who can also stretch the field and do these big plays. But no, we're going to be a team that is going to be moving the ball on offense constantly. Like we're going to be a team, time of possession. You're going to be like looking at the games. You're like, wow, the Bears had 35 minutes of time of possession because you got guys like Swift and guys like Keenan Allen. If you want to chew the clock down, those are your guys. Like
Yeah.
Swift carrying the ball, Keenan Allen catching that medium route, short route, maybe bursting it for like an extra 5 or 10 yards. Like that's why you got these guys. And then, as you said, when the teams are all playing up because they're like, okay, we're so sick and tired of this shit, then that's when you throw it deep to either a Dunze or a DJ Moore. And then,
Which
get
that's
Cole
that.
Kmet involved too.
How does Cole Kmet have one target?
Yeah.
One target, one catch, 4 yards. It's
Yeah. Kmet's a talent. Like I think Kmet's one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. Gerald Everett's also on the roster too. He's also
yeah,
very, very underrated. But yeah, Cole Kmet has been one of those guys that like I just always felt like a quarterback, not having a quarterback hurt him because when he shows it, he gives me some flashes of like a Hunter Henry to some degree where I'm like, yeah, man, I remember when Hunter Henry was young and doing the same things of being a sure-handed tight end in the NFL. But Cole Kmet's a little bit more athletic. He can run block a lot better than Hunter Henry. I'm like, how do you not find ways to just use this guy? Like this guy could be, and I'm not saying like Travis Kelsey, but a Travis Kelsey light in ways where teams are going to be so annoyed that we have to guard this guy, And unlike the Chiefs, who don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, it's not just a bunch of guys that maybe they'll break out. You have two established wide receivers to pair up with that guy in Cole Kmet
Right.
and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. That teams also have to think about, so they can't just go after Cole Kmet. Like Cole Kmet should be having these stat lines where you're just like 5 yards for 62 yards, five receptions, 62 yards every game. He should be someone that should be close to 800 to 1,000 yards receiving. He should be the one guy teams don't want to see in the red zone, and they're just not using him. And it's such a bizarre thing where it's like, I get it, you have these wide receivers, but honestly, the game will open up for Chicago when they start using him, DeAndre Swift, and Keenan Allen, that three-headed monster of its own right. Because DJ Moore and Roman Dunze, it's like when you're making a sandwich, they're just extra condiments. Like it's like, oh, cool, I can add like I have enough calories, I can add this onto the sandwich. Oh, yeah, Roman Dunze, put the spicy chipotle on here. Fuck it, why not? I'm going crazy today. Like that's how it is with these guys. And it's just like instead, you're just trying to force DJ Moore and Keenan Allen when it's like I'm just being honest. I don't. There's not a lot of linebackers or those dime or nickel safeties that I feel like can cover a Cole Kmet all game long. And it's one of those things like for rookies, one of the best friends you can have is that big old tight end that is reliable. And the Bears have one of them. And then they also have a guy like Gerald Everett who can stretch the field, just fights wherever you're. Like he was the Chargers' best weapon last year, in my opinion, Gerald Everett, because of how every time Herbert would throw it like 5 yards down, he would somehow get 8 yards out of nowhere. And I was just like, dude, this guy's a beast. Keep him and stuff. But yeah, you gotta get Cole Kmet involved.
And as soon as you bring up, and as soon as you got to get the Mike linebackers, the middle linebackers to come up to try to
Yeah,
stop Cole Kmet, there's your Roma Dunze.
yeah,
There's your DJ Moore. There's your Keenan Allen.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to see how all of this shakes out. But overall, your final thoughts on this season of Hard Knocks Bears. What are your final thoughts and summation of this season?
I thought it was a solid season of Hard Knocks. This felt like those Texan seasons that they would have, where like there wasn't really like there was good stories, good characters, but nothing about it was like, oh, this was like not every Tuesday was I gotta get to my Hard Knocks. Like this is gonna be hilarious. Like it was more of like, okay, I just finished my gym session in the morning. Let me go watch Hard Knocks as I'm chilling off my pre-workout or something. So I thought it was a solid season. Just the focus and the editing of it was just weird because it was just like just certain players weren't being focused that I thought, yeah, they should focus on this guy, but instead they were focusing on everyone else but certain players, and especially the Bears defense. But yeah, I would overall say a solid season. I don't think I would ever go back to this one. This is not like those Bengals seasons with Ocho Cinco, or even like or even like the first Rams season. I thought Jared Goff, I think, is one of the funniest people in the NFL. And so like Jared Goff was like highly entertaining, just like he was a couple years ago when he did the Detroit Lions Hard Knocks. I thought he was very entertaining on that one as well. And this was definitely not as entertaining as the Jets one. I thought the Jets had way more fun last season for Hard Knocks. This one was just kind of like, it was kind of like, okay, cool. Like I'm rooting for Wheeler. Like cool. Austin Reed's a funny dude. But other than that, Tyson Bagent's cool. He was the MVP for me of this show. But it was just more focused on, I don't know, this felt more like an off season show. Like it felt like we were focusing
Yeah,
way too much on Eberfluss and Ryan Poles and stuff. Like it didn't seem like we were focusing on the action of the field. And I felt the players they chose to highlight were kind of just like positions of no consequences. Like there wasn't like because normally in Hard Knocks, what they do very well is just like they were like, and there's a cornerback one of the Colts. But these two are challenging for the second and third spot. Which
right.
one will line up on the other side? And they build that up all the time. Instead, we're battling for the fourth running back spot. And like, oh, Austin Reed, can he become the third quarterback in the room? And it's like these are inconsequential things for the Bears. Like they're not sitting there like this is not going to change the overall offense of the Bears. Anything, I got more pissed at the Bears roster construction because like you're only keeping 5 receivers, but you need like 7 DBs, and not one of them was on. Like the Ryan Poles scene when he was crying about Colbert. It's like, you crying so much, why are you cutting him? like,
Yeah.
like, why are you crying? Like, I'm just being honest. If you love, like, here's the thing: you love this kid so much. This guy inspires you. If a guy inspired me, I'm keeping him on my team.
Yeah.
I'll be like, screw whatever this young safety is. I gotta keep this guy. This guy's inspiring to me and stuff. Like those are guys you want on the team. And he was acting like someone died in the family. Like this tough scrub, man. It's very very tough.
Yo,
And,
it was harder for Poles than it was for Colbert.
yeah.
Colbert was just like, man, things happen. Like he was just like, he's like, I wake up every day just feeling blessed because I'm alive. Poles is like, somebody died. Oh God. Oh God.
uh, and Austin Reed's cut, they did him dirty. I would be so pissed
Yo,
that like everyone else got the polls and Eberflus treatment. Hey man, you were great. We want to keep
just get the
you.
OC.
Yeah, you just get the assistant GM. The assistant GM is like what? Pauls was busy. Was he too busy? Still crying over Colbert? Wait, well, why can't he talk to you? Like if I saw that on Hard Knocks, if I'm Austin, I am pissed. I am literally saying, you know what? You can't do me dirty like that. Like, come on, man. Like that would get me hot. I would be hot as hell seeing that. But yeah, I thought it was like I said, solid season of Hard Knocks. These are always well edited, well produced, but just the storylines, like it just wasn't juicy enough. There wasn't like drama. We didn't have that crazy like besides Bajent, we didn't have that like super insane player where everyone's like,
Right.
how is this person how is this a real human being and stuff? Like, like there's no way this person exists. Like James Harrison, like in the previous seasons, where it's like James Harrison does what every day? Jeez, that guy's crazy. Like there was not one person on this team like Bajent, yeah, like oh cool, you like to do like the Murphs, that's cool, but we didn't see any of that. He just talked about how he did it. We didn't see him like that would have sold me. Like Bajent, yeah, I wake up 4 a.m. and I run 22 miles every day. I'm like, whoa, this guy's insane. Nothing. It was just him talking about how he does these weird workouts and stuff. Slip and slide was fun. I think that was my favorite part, was them doing the slip and slide to teach them how to slide and stuff. So I thought that was that was probably the most fun thing on the show, was the slip and slide, besides the rookies doing karaoke. And then the other funny scene was who was shopping with Roman Doomsday? They didn't know what dude wipes were. So they bought
Oh,
Clorox.
what is that?
I don't know, but they were buying a bunch of,
Was it a defensive guy?
I
No.
don't know, but they were buying too much candy. They were buying too much candy, and I was just like, dude, like I know for sure. Keenan Allen texted Roman Dunze, "Hey, young blood, your body may be young now, but you got to start putting the right things in your body if you want to be in this league for a long time." Like he for sure was texting him that, because I would have been, if I was his vet, I'd be sending that text immediately. Like, why are you buying all this candy and stuff? Like, I know there's another show we may be talking about where there's a receiver who loves candy and stuff,
Yeah, that guy.
but that guy's built different. He's he's not from this planet.
He's allowed
He's
to eat
one,
whatever the fuck he
yeah,
wants.
yeah, he's one of the aliens. When the aliens reveal themselves, Justin Jefferson's right there. But yeah, I know, but he bought Clorox instead of like the fucking dude wipes, and then he's like, oh, I wonder how that's gonna go. I'm like, what the heck? Like, how do you not know what dude wipes were? Like, it's like the simple thing. He got confused. But those are my like two funniest moments of Hard Knocks. Everything else was just kind of like, okay, that's a fun episode.
Yeah, we're watching the slip and slide. Colleen's getting excited because she's ultimately a child at heart, and then she's like, "Wait a minute, they're doing the slip and slide in their socks? No!" But yeah, I mean, I thought this, to your point, I think it was well produced as always. That's the HBO sports kind of hallmark. I did think it was funny, the Joe Buck during one of the games is talking about how Liev Schreiber is going to be talking about this guy on Hard Knocks. They do the voiceover from Liev going, "Well, Joe, anything for a fan," and then he starts talking about, like, that was funny. But yeah, this, what, in a weird way, it felt very Chicago Bears like. It just felt like these are guys that show up to work, do work, and then go home. And that was really about it. But this is a season that I think is, to your point, it doesn't have a lot of replayability value, at least right now. But it's one of those seasons that we can potentially have replayability value or replayable value down the road, depending on how this offense takes form. Because
Yes.
if it goes really well, then you kind of want to see if there's something you missed. And if it goes really bad, you kind of want to go back and be like, these guys have no idea what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah, it's kind of like kind of like the Detroit Hard Knocks. Like that was like the one where it's like, oh wow, this Dan Campbell guy, this guy's intense. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, will this team be any good? And now that's like the prelude of what the Detroit Lions have become. You can watch that and go, I saw that the whole time because that's how Dan Campbell was from day one. So yeah, no, that's the important things about these Hard Knocks. I always like watching the Hard Knocks. They're always fun. And the in-season one this year with the AFC North should be a fun one. It's going to be, especially with all the news coming out from that division, it's going to be very interesting to see how certain things play out. I'm glad they're doing.
They've already set the storylines. You've got Chase negotiations for the Bengals.
Yes.
You've got Joe Burrow still potentially coming back from injury with the Bengals. On the Ravens side, it's going to be is likely actually challenging Mark Andrews for the tight end one spot. In Cleveland, it's going to be come on out, you rapist. And in Pittsburgh, it's going to be like Russell Wilson's sore vagina versus Justin Fields just being absolutely terrible. Like how they managed to win a game and only kick field goals, I have no idea. And a part of me is just confused because I'm like, so you mean to tell me this team kicked nothing but field goals and Kirk Cousins with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and I guess Darnell Mooney could not win? Whatever you're paying the Pittsburgh defense, pay them more. That's what
TJ Watt, I'm sure he's already been extended. I would have given him another extension after that game. Hey man, we working your contract. You're getting paid more. Like Sutton as well.
Money under the table. Like I don't know what it takes, but there's something happening there.
Yeah,
it's like he gets his direct deposit and goes. It's like they added a zero. And he goes, hey, what's going on? And they go, oh, it's an accounting error. And then the NFL comes to them and it's like, oh, it was an accounting error. Like that's how we're gonna pull this off. But somehow that defense has to get paid more for whatever they are, whatever
100%. 100%.
But guys, we could go on and on talking about the NFL season and start going off into tangents on all these different teams. But that is what you guys come to this channel for when it comes to our live streams and our watch alongs. So we want to thank you for tuning in. You can catch me, you can catch Chase on a whole slew of the different live streams and watch alongs. And of course, Chase, we can catch you on Around the Point. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on X at ChaseOver68, Around the Point Network. Talk about mostly pro wrestling on there. Sometimes we sprinkle in soccer talk because that's the only sport Steve watches. So we have no other choice but to talk about it. And we also talk about UFC and MMA. So we talk about a bunch of different things on that channel. So go check that out. And then also I make regular appearances here on True Hill Heat Sports and Entertainment, and as well as True Hill Heat for the watch alongs. And I'm kind of like a substitute teacher for Romeo when he doesn't want to talk about Monday Night Raw. So I come in every once in a while for that as well. So yeah, you guys can catch me on there. This was fun. I love NFL film documentaries. They're my favorite things to watch. So anytime. And then I'm pretty sure if StatKing and I wanted, we would just preview week 2 right here, right now. But we have lives.
Actually, speaking of which, did you see that Devin Achane probably is questionable for Thursday night?
I'll find out 90 minutes before game if I have to bench him. I'm all like fucking. This is the risk and reward of drafting Achane.
Yeah,
when he plays, he's great. When he doesn't play, it's nothing. But this is why I overdrafted a bunch of running backs because I knew Achane would get a little bit of a boo boo a bunch of times. So in our dynasty league we're in, I'm kind of in the mud. Fucking both my running backs are out, CMC and Achane. I'm like, oh great.
Well, alrighty, guys. Until next time, remember, take it easy, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will catch you all later.